Time to call to order the Alexandria City Council regular meeting. Today's date's Tuesday, February the 10th, 2009. Item number B, invocation. I want to ask that Mr. Roosevelt Johnson, Councilman at Large, provide us invocation. If you stand, please, and followed by the pledge of allegiance by Mr. Jonathan. I want to ask the Eagle Scout to lead us in the pledge of allegiance after the prayer first, please.
Everyone, please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, creator and maker of every good and perfect gift, I ask that you would bless our city, bless our community, bless this administration, this council as we move forward with the everyday decisions that we must make in our everyday lives. These we ask in our Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Eagle Scout Upton.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson.
Present.
Mr. Fowler.
Here.
Mr. Larberdane.
Here.
Mr. Goins. Mr. Silver. Mr. Hobbs. Mr. Lawson.
Thank you. I think that does constitute a quorum. At this point, I'm going to yield to the gentleman from District 5, Mr. Chuck Fowler, to recognize some very distinguished individuals in the audience.
First, I'd like to recognize John Upton, who just led us in the pledge. He's at present, I believe, working on his Eagle Scout status with Boy Scouts. And if you'd like to get up and tell us a few words about what you're doing, if you go to the microphone.
I'm John Upton. I'm currently the Assistant Senior Patrol Leader of Troop 6 for the Boy Scouts of America. I'm currently working towards my Eagle Scout rank, and one of the requirements for an Eagle Required Merit Badge was come to a city council meeting. So.
You put that hell of a meeting.
We certainly hope you're having fun. You're certainly welcome to come back anytime you want to. And you might take public speaking too. That was very nice.
That's a medal for bravery. I think Mr. Lowry has.
We want to commend you on that and tell your dad who's sitting next to you hello here. A good trial lawyer here in town.
Good man.
And now I'd like to recognize from Ash, the men's swim team, Coach Wally Fowle. If you would introduce your gentlemen and tell us of their recent
And
achievement.
ladies. Yeah.
And ladies, I'm sorry.
It's my English teacher. The podium. That's right.
Coach Fowle's always real shy. Always real shy about talking. So.
Now I have y'all here together. John also is a very good swimmer who works out with us in the company. Know that.
Excuse me, Mr. Fowler, can you approach the podium, please?
Oh, you have to turn the mic towards you. You
I'll turn the mic towards you.
So people can hear you.
Here you are, TV.
want to hear those names called out.
They can't hear you at home.
Is the mic
Is it on?
Well, it wasn't designed to come out of table. Mr. Paul.
He's good.
He's been in the repair mode
To get back in the desk.
at the junior high for so long now. He fixes everything.
Start working on the South Traffic Circle.
It's working now? It's working.
Man, you guys put a joke on me, what?
It's working.
I'm Wally Paul, the Alexandria Senior High swim coach, and I'd like to introduce our young men. Most of them made it. We do have a very important basketball game tonight with Peabody High School. I'm sure a few are there. But in the meantime, I'd like to introduce, we start here with Thomas Godwin. I call your name, stand up. Next to him is Eric Norm.
Maybe I can come land up here so the cameras can
Yeah, come on up here and get them. Next to him is Chris Stelly. Over here we have Alan Arnold. Okay, Dallas Cosby. We have Logan DeStefano, Oscar Oliver, Lakari Fontenot. If I missed somebody. I have several of the girls that came with us too, although they didn't win state, they did a very good job. And oh, I got some up front, I missed them. Thank the hat, I'm sorry. And Logan Labe, please come up. We don't have very many missing, I believe, got just about everybody. These gentlemen won state championship in 4A in swimming against Vanderbilt Catholic. Vanderbilt had been winning state 6 years in a row, and the last time they lost it was to us also. So this is Alexandria Senior High's 7th title, 4th for the boys, and the girls have won 3.
Great.
And we're quite proud of how they're doing. So they bring a little notoriety to the city and in an Olympic sport, and I appreciate them putting up with me. Between when school started and the state meet, we swam a total of 140 miles in practice. And that's quite a feat. These are very accomplished young people, and we have several that are not here. We have 5 seniors, and we're going through the motions, trying to reload, not rebuild. So we'll be back in the contention again next year for the boys. The girls should move up a spot. They should do real well. We have some good income in there. So we appreciate this, Councilman, all of you, and appreciate the time to come here and recognize these youth for their good hard work, because they practice about 2 or 2.5 hours a day. So thank you very much, Mr. Long.
Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. It's a tough feat.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Councilman Goins, District 3.
I also see a member of the administration from Alexandria Senior High, Miss Ollie McGee, who was my biology teacher, and I'd just like to recognize her on this evening.
I also taught many young people how to swim. We're grateful for Ms. McGee. Mayor, you have a presentation?
I think Wally covered it all, but I'll just read in all the names in case some of the folks weren't here. It's Alan Arnold, Dallas Cosby, Ryan Cutts, Logan DeStefano, Lakari Fontenot, Jad Ford, Thomas Goodwin, Ben Hall, Brandon Hudson, Spencer Jones, Ryan Kelly, Logan Lave, Adam Knowles, Alex Knowles, Eric Norum, Oscar Oliver, Chris Deli, and I think, is it Drake or Dake Tejada? Dake Tejada. And then we have a proclamation from the mayor's office. Whereas Alexandria Senior High boys swim team, under the leadership of Coach Wally Fall, won the Quad A State Championship. And whereas the team won by 117 points over Vanderbilt Catholic of Houma, the defending champion the last 6 years. And whereas the boys finished this season undefeated in 6 meets, and that's 4 large invitationals, 1 triangular meet, in addition to the state championship. Whereas several school records were established, and whereas Ash was the only public school to win 1 of the 8 first place trophies, and whereas the team garnered 33 of 44 possible top seeds on the all-Sinlaw swim team. Now therefore, the office of the mayor declares February 10, 2009 as Alexandria Senior High Boys Swim Team Day. So congratulations again.
That's wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Great news there. And I want to make sure that the records reflect that in the meetings that, and the minutes, that we recognize this wonderful organization, and certainly our new Eagle Scout, Mr. Upton. I'll go now into item number E. You're welcome to endure if you'd like, but I understand the basketball game. I certainly will afford you the opportunity to leave.
Thank you.
I can't believe y'all choosing the Peabody Ash game over sitting through the council meeting now. I understand. All right. Yeah, have a good evening. Now I'll entertain item E, consent calendar. Once you peruse it for items that you may want to pull.
Number 4 to legal.
4 legal. Any other items? If not, I entertain a motion for the approval of the consent calendar. Have a motion by Mr. Harry Silver, probably second by Mr. Roosevelt Johnson. Discussion on approval of the consent calendar. Hearing none, all in favor, aye? Opposed, that motion carries. Item number F, ordinance up for final adoption subject to public hearing. Item number 20, Madam Clerk.
Consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept the low bid submitted for herbicides for annual contract.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hobbs, properly second by Mr. Goins. Discussion on that motion. Hearing none, all in favor, aye? Opposed, that motion carries. 21, Madam Clerk.
To consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept the low bid submitted for substation battery replacement at Sturks, Willow Glen, and downtown substations.
Properly moved by Mr. Hobbs, seconded by Mr. Fowler. Discussion on that motion. Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Opposed, motion carries. 22.
Consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept the low bid submitted for operating supplies for the electric distribution department.
There's been a motion by Mr. Hobbs. Is there a second by Mr. Goins? Discussion on item 22. Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Opposed, that motion carries. Item number 23.
To consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept the low bid submitted for hydraulic trash loader truck for the sanitation department.
We have a motion by Mr. Hobbs, probably second by Mr. Johnson. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item number 25.
24.
24, I'm sorry.
To consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept the low bid submitted for electric meters for a 12-month period.
Been moved by Mr. Fowler, properly second by Mr. Hobbs. Any discussion on item 24? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item 24.
25. To
Make sure
consider
you're paying attention to it. Item 25.
To consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Rapides Parish School Board for the support of their school breakfast program to be held during the LEAP and Iowa testing.
You have a motion made by Mr. Silver, properly second by Mr. Hobbs. Discussion. I want to say, I heard a comment about supporting the school system and the little things we can do to help. This is certainly one of those little things that we do to assist. Certainly a good breakfast promotes good test results. We want to make sure that have a nutrition meal. I want to commend my colleagues on doing that. Double A on the breakfast.
Another thing too, you might mention that we've been doing this for a number of years. I don't know the exact total, but probably 8 or 10 anyway, I would guess.
That's right. Now, I just saw the swim team. We have swimming programs at Ash and Peabody. There was a comment made last night which said we ought to look at doing more things, and rightfully so. School system, I think sometimes we just don't tell a good story about what we do. Mr. Laverne.
Yeah, I think this is a worthwhile cause because, as you all know, the LEAP and Iowa tests are very stressful times for our kids. It will determine whether or not you proceed to the next grade level. So whatever we can do to help the kids, we're all willing to do that. And so I want to commend the administration on providing that help.
All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Item number 26.
Consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to renew the existing contract with Lot Oil Company for the vehicle and equipment fuel bid.
We have a motion by Mr. Johnson, properly second by Mr. Fowler. Discussion on that motion. Hearing none, all in favor, aye? Motion carries. 27.
Consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to renew the existing contract with Wolf Tree Experts for trimming and removal of trees and limbs.
Moved by Mr. Hobbs.
Second.
Second by Mr. Goins. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, aye? That motion carries. Utility Committee, Mr. Fowler, 28.
Consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept the low bid submitted for water system improvements for the water department.
Move.
You have a motion by Mr. Fowler. It's properly second by Mr. Hobbs. Discussion.
Both these items are heard in utility, both recommended.
Okay.
28 and 29.
Thank you. All in favor, aye? Opposed, motion carries. Item number 29.
Consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept the low bid submitted for 2009 water well maintenance and rehabilitation project.
Moved by Mr. Hobbs, properly second by Mr. Goins. Discussion on those items. Hearing none, all in favor, aye? Opposed, that motion carries. G, committees.
Number 30, to consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept the low bid submitted for fire hydrants and related accessories for a 6-month period.
I think that item was laid over. Okay.
Delayed 2 weeks, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other items on finance?
Finance Committee, Mr. Hobbs.
No report.
Public Works Committee, Mr. Silver. Legal Committee, Mr. Lorverdang.
No report.
Utility, Mr. Fowler.
No report.
Community Development, Mr. Goins.
No report.
Personnel, Mr. Johnson.
No report.
Public Safety, Mr. Goins.
No report.
A&E Review, Mr. Fowler.
No report.
Economic Development, Mr. Silver.
No report.
Cost Share and Emerging Business Committee, Mr. Lorverdang.
No report.
Let me say this, tied to that, I think we'll expect something on the agenda?
Yes, let me say something real quick on the record. We were supposed to have an 8 feet for tonight. I put in the record. I don't know why it's not on there, but let's make sure that we put it on this coming Tuesday agenda. I mean, the next Tuesday. When the next meeting on there, ma'am?
24.
Okay, I want to put the 8 feet on the 24, and also inform the administration.
And I also would like, consistent with what we discussed last year, all items subjected to the 8 feet program to have detailed analysis about the effort that was placed into making sure that emerging businesses are participating in each one of the items that come before us for adoption.
And let me say something. Also, I would also like to get from the administration copies of any reports they're going to provide. So please inform them that they'll be on the agenda on the 24th. And if they have any documents to that effect, get them to us at least a week prior to the meeting so we can review it.
Mr. Chairman, while we're discussing the February 24th meeting, Madam Clerk, can you please add to the agenda the introduction of an ordinance to terminate the $4 sanitation fee that has recently been implemented?
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Public Relations Policy Committee, Mr. Johnson.
No report.
And maybe we have at the next meeting too, a report and a recommendation on the management out of Channel 4. I think we have an outstanding request for proposal out there. Mr. Chair, maybe we can go ahead and bring some closure as to selection of those individuals that will be handling Channel 4. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Audit Committee, Mr. Goings.
No report.
Public hearing, H.
Mr. President, before we go into the public hearing, I have a couple of items that need to come up under unanimous consent.
On public hearings.
This is an ordinance to repeal Section 4-41.1 of the Alexandria Code relative to alcohol beverage licenses and public nuisances in the city. Mr. Gist has prepared this ordinance, and it needs to be introduced so that we can take final action in a couple of weeks.
What is the gist of that resolution?
Ordinance.
It says ordinance number 49, 2008, amended and revised various sections relative to alcoholic beverages, including the sections on public nuisances and revocations of licenses. And the intention of the ordinance was to recodify the sections and related provisions.
We're sending it to legal.
We're sending
it to legal.
Introduce it and send it to legal.
Okay.
Go ahead and introduce it. I'll move.
Okay, move.
Second.
Second, send it to legal.
Okay, we need
That'd be
a,
unanimous.
Okay, we have a
unanimous
motion
consent.
second to add to legal. I'm going to afford public comments before we vote to add that to legal. Discussion, public comments relative to that item. If not, it requires unanimous consent. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I gotta vote that.
Okay.
there was also another item pertaining to a resolution, Mr. Silver, I believe you have it, concerning the ban for the Mardi Gras activities.
Yeah, where is
For the
it though?
city to,
There it
the
is.
Grambling
This is
ban.
resolution to authorize the expenditure of funds for Mardi Gras parade expenses related to certain university bands and marching units, and to authorize related expenses.
Got a motion by Mr. Silver, second by Mr. Hobbs. Okay. Unanimous consent to add. Discussion by the general public. Hearing none. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right.
We need a motion and a second to approve it.
Oh, that's right, it's on the final, that's right. All in favor for the motion as previously read by the clerk? Is there a motion?
Move.
I move by Mr. Hobbs, probably second by Mr. Goins. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all in favor, aye? Opposed, motion. All in favor, aye? Aye. It's getting late. Opposed, motion carries.
That's all I
Okay. We have the schedule, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it. I don't think we have several people here now, but I'm gonna go into H, public hearing. Madam Clerk, 43.
Public hearing to be held to receive public comment concerning the electrical utility rebates.
Yes, sir. State your name.
I didn't sign in, I apologize.
It's a public hearing. We'll afford you
3
that.
minutes.
I'm Patrick LaCour, I've spoken before, and I guess every time I get a chance to speak about the proposed contract, I'll come and speak about it. I appreciate every opportunity that we get. I've read over the contract some more. What I'm not understanding in the contract is that we're talking about giving out rebates, but a rebate, as defined, is a repayment or a refund of something that has already been paid. And if you look at this, if you look and examine this contract, there is nothing that CLECO is paying back due. The $29 million that they're saying that we're calling a rebate is really just a rent. It's a rental payment for renting DG Hunter from us. Now, I fail to see how that can be a rebate when we're taking an asset that's a city asset that we can use, maybe not the most efficient generation, but we're going to rent that to them. They're going to pay us for that, and we're going to go through certain contortions and call that a rebate if we give it back to the customers. The second thing is, if you give up DG Hunter, you give up capacity that you otherwise have. And by giving up DG Hunter, we now have to go buy capacity back from CLECO. Now, I ran some calculations, and I'll be glad to be challenged by the administration, because I haven't seen the administration's numbers, but from what I can see, and I wrote an article in the paper, CLECO will pay us $29 million to rent DG Hunter from us. But we've got to pay CLECO over the same 13 years $195 million to rent back that same capacity from them. So I fail to see how that's a bargain for the city. The third thing that I would say is the contract as it's structured, if you bid it out, and that's what I've got, hopefully I'm beating a steady drum here, that I'm not saying something new. If you bid out this contract, I think what you'll find is that somebody can meet or beat the same rates that CLECO is giving us. If you look at CLECO's 8K that they filed in September 30th, they're not claiming that there's a material adverse effect of this settlement. So if CLECO is not saying there's a material adverse effect of the settlement, they're basically telling you that the contract that you have is a market-based contract. Because if it was not a market-based contract and there were damages hidden in that contract, they would have to disclose that to investors. If they didn't disclose that to investors, they could be subject to investor lawsuits. So if you look at the information that CLECO is providing, if you look at the contract, and I would hope that if you would go out and bid it with some other providers, you'd find that this is just a market-based contract. And you might could do better if you bid it out with someone else. And so I'll wrap up what I'm saying by saying that I would appreciate if the council would reconsider rescinding the vote that it authorized the administration to sign the contract.
Do you have, I got a question before you sit down. Do you have any firm belief that had we bidded out this as a recommendation by the administration, the opportunity to provide utilities for the city, power for the city, do you feel comfortable, or do you have any proof that we would have gotten any bites from any provider?
Out of desperation, I contacted another party besides CLECO, and it was Entergy. I contacted Entergy. The gentleman with Entergy said that they would love to have an RFP from CLECO, from the city of Alexandria. What he could not guarantee me was, based on their standing with the FERC and their cost of service pricing arrangement, he cannot tell me definitively until they investigate internally whether or not they would bid into it. It's not as easy as them saying we're going to go seek new business, because under cost of service, if they were to take on an incremental contract like Alexandria, and that contract were to raise the price for everyone else, then the LPSC might have something to say about that. Now, they haven't vetted that internally. It may not raise the cost for everyone at Entergy, and so they may bid into it. What the gentleman from Entergy told me today, and I hope to have him here, but it was short notice for him, I've asked him if he would like to come to the next meeting. I hope that he will maybe come to the 24th meeting, and I'll keep the council informed of that. But Entergy said if the council were to rescind the vote, and if the council were to put forward an RFP, they would be more than happy to receive the RFP. And that's just one provider out there. What the gentleman from Entergy also told me is there are a slew of other providers that we could contact. That was his comment to me.
That's an interesting new revelation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Council.
Mr. Marcotte, acting superintendent?
Director. This week.
Director.
Thank you, Mr. Lawson. Obviously, the agenda item, as you opened it, was for a rebate discussion. And I think Mr. LaCour's points may not be slightly not germane. I think it's important that the administration take most of what he said under advisement, and I think there are appropriate replies. Unfortunately, I don't think it's as concise and simple as Mr. LaCour points it out to be. I would point out, for example, he says that he feels that on the open market we could do better. One of the things that we discussed in our December PowerPoints was the daily pricing information CLECO gives us. Right now, CLECO bought power for the city today for $33 a megawatt. One of the other things we have access to is market power prices on the SPP at what's called the energy border, meaning we talked about the donut before. What's the power cost at the outer edge of the donut before we cross the dough and get to the hole that's known as Alexandria? It's about $42 a megawatt today before transmission cost to get through the donut. Energy owns the donut. Previously during this process, we asked Energy to cross the donut with 10 megawatts, and they told us it would cost $1 to $56 million. Without getting into the particulars of the contract, it's important to recognize, as the documents that we have posted and made available to the public from R.W. Beck show, this contract, taken as a whole, as a system, all charges, fees, cost, everything associated with it, is cheaper than the current arrangement. And that's important to remember. It taken as a package, it's still cheaper than what we had. We've taken DG Hunter, something that had nebulous value, and we've actually converted that into a cash asset, which, if taken over time, as opposed to taken in upfront lump sum, is $44 million. I think we did good for the citizens. Yes, sir, Mr. Fowler.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were through.
Well, I was just going to say, I just want to hit the high points. I think any bid, any RFP you put out there, that was looked at. The transmission investment, we are not a network customer right now. We are having to buy into the network. We're having to get into the big grid, so to speak. And the cost for us to do that, because any market power, even if it comes from the energy system, it's going to be a condition of the NHTSA that we pay for the transmission upgrades. So you have to factor in that cost of service. Beck did that, and I think it's important again to reiterate, this package as a whole is better than where we were, and we think it's the best we can do. Yes,
Yeah,
Mr.
I just
Fowler.
wanted to ask you to clear up one point also that Mr. LaCour mentioned when he was elaborating on the use of DG Hunter. If I'm not mistaken, in the agreement, the city still has the control to use the facility in emergencies to produce power for the city. Is that not true?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The only obligation being we pay the fuel cost.
Well, we'd have to do that.
And we'd have to do that anyway, so I think, I'll reiterate what we iterated in December. We still own it, we still staff it, we still have the keys to it. I still have a key in my pocket right now that'll get me in the control room. And I will in 13 years from now.
All right. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Lawson.
Next meeting, bring us back something, if you will, Mr. Marcotte. Ask administration to bring us back something in addition to a recommendation on a rebate issue. Bring us back the costs associated with each option that is before us right now on the rebate, i.e. meaning lump sum, i.e. every payment's I'd like to see it back. I know we get it.
Yes, sir. I think the mayor has committed, that's some information he would probably just make available publicly.
Okay.
Also, one thing to add to that, Mr. Marcotte, along with that is the information on lower utility rates that you can add to that list of requests at the next meeting.
Okay, well, Mr. Johnson, if you don't mind, we could talk a little bit about that today. We talked about the current purchase power prices from CLECO were $33 a megawatt. 6 or 8 months ago, the spot prices were $156 a megawatt. So the rate, as you remember, is composed of two things, the rate and the fuel charge. The rate is set by ordinance by the council, hasn't been adjusted since 1986 for electric. Our opportunity and the opportunity we seized in this contract was fuel charge. And so you can see we've gone already from 156 to 33. We're on that rolling 6 month average. The high months are falling off. It's fixing to get a lot better really quickly.
Thank you. And I just hope we see it, because I'm still getting those calls that my utility bill's high.
I still get a bill every month.
And I pay them, sir. Yours went up too, huh? Okay, that concludes. Any other comments? Yes, ma'am. Come on in.
How you do?
Tell her I said hello. Very talented. Come on in.
I think Mike is going to have to come back to you. I had a question for finance, but we'll delay that till next time. I'll give you. I know you guys want to go home.
Okay.
Everybody knows me. I'm Gail Underwood. I think my question is going to be answered next week, but how, and I've asked Mr. Goins, is how much have y'all determined that it's going to cost in time, labor, overtime, and doing search to see how much individuals are going to be getting, especially when someone has moved from the residence. Now, being a landlord, I have turnovers, is all you know. To me, it seems like it's going to be a very, very expensive, time-consuming, and very, very money-crunch system. So I'd kind of like, a question maybe to be answered now, or maybe be delayed till next one. I think Mike's going to have to get back with you on that.
It's going to be a very, very difficult thing to do.
Right.
So I can tell you it's challenging to find out exactly what you have errors
I really
involved.
wouldn't want his job
So
right
it's
now.
going to be very, very challenging. But we will ask the administration how to address that situation.
I'm going to cut this real short, and I know you guys want to go home because I do too. But I have heard comments, and I'm not going to say where I've heard it, but since I'm retired, I'm able to become interested and involved. And people that I know that are in the know, that Alexandria made a good deal. And this comes from people in Baton Rouge and surrounding areas. Maybe we lost a little bit in the money, but from some rumors I heard, the city would have lost greater things as far as maybe move-outs and transferring to another city to take the headquarters. Now, that was a rumor, but I have people in the electrical business, not particularly CLECO's overhead, but it's been discussed, and there was several people I won't tell you that there was even a comment made that Covington would have been the home office, and we would have lost a lot of visitors and residents and business.
Just for the record, we don't deal in rumors. This you can book. This was all done with factual data, so you should be proud that we've done a good job.
People I know in electric say that we got a very good deal. We could
Damn
make it
right.
done a little bit better, but we would have lost some things also.
We appreciate the comments, Ms. Underwood. One thing this council's going to continue to do is be open-minded and listen to folk on both sides. Harry said, no, we're not. Yes, we will.
She says hello anytime you need tickets.
All right. Thank you so much. That's going to conclude our public hearing. Any other business needs to come before the Alexandria City Council? Do we have anyone sign up for comments? Meeting's adjourned.